What's up, guys? Neil Orfield here, and I'm going to show you how I will be setting up my fantasy cruncher for tonight's single game slate between the Eagles and Commanders on FanDuel. This is for the largest field GPP on FanDuel. I am going to try and keep this video a little bit shorter by maybe not going as in depth in some of my settings decisions. And for those, I will be linking to an article that I've written about why I'm making some of the decisions that I will be making here. So just to save a little bit of time on these videos. Also, while you're coming in, if you haven't already, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'd appreciate it. All right, first thing I am doing as I come in, I'm going to change around these columns. I have a quick view saved so that I can see what I want to see in the middle of the screen here, which is ownership projections, my projections, my exposure caps, and then how much I get of players after I have run some crunches. And then in here, I'm going to go to the MVP tab. I typically like to set an exposure cap on players in the MVP spot. I'm going to set that at 20%, meaning I can't get more than 20% of any player at MVP. However, I look at my FanDuel top plays. I see Jalen Hurts is the optimal MVP 25% of the time. Maybe I want to allow a little bit more than 20% of Jalen Hurts on FanDuel. I could individually then go in and say Jalen Hurts at MVP. I'll allow 30% or 25%, whatever you want it to be. So you can make, different decisions for different players as well. All right, I'm going to go into advanced options. This is where I do a lot of my work. The general tab, the groups tab, are the two tabs that I'm using for a single game slate. Unique players per lineup, I'm going to leave at one unique player per lineup when I'm making 150. If I were making 20 or fewer, I might change this to 2 unique players per lineup just for the sake of diversifying my lineups a bit. Salary cap, I'm not going to set a minimum salary. I will set a maximum salary just for the purpose of avoiding the most duplicated lineups. FanDuel allows you to use up to $60,000 in salary. I'm going to leave $1,500 on the table. Set this at 58,500. So I'm leaving at least 1,500 on the table in every lineup that I create here just to avoid duplicate lineups. Offensive players versus defense. The default is set to max 2 players against your defense. I'm going to change that to 4. We just saw this win a couple weeks ago with 4 players from one team's offense versus just the defense of the other team. It certainly is viable on FanDuel. So I'm going to set that at 4. Global exposure caps, I'm leaving this at 100%. As you saw, I changed it in the MVP spot specifically, so I don't have 100% of any player in the MVP spot. Randomness, I'm going to set this to 50%. I am using normal distribution randomness. If you are using classic randomness, I might recommend 30 or 40%, something a little bit lower. And also, if you want just a little bit more control over your lineups, I would set this lower as well. It's easier to control your lineups with lower randomness. So maybe you use 10%. I know some people use 0% randomness. That'll slow down the program a little bit. But if you want complete control, use 0% randomness. I don't mind giving up some control. So I'm going to set that at 50%. And then minimum projection included in calculation, set at 3. That means that if a player has a projection lower than 3 fantasy points, they are not going to be included in your player pool. If you want to include those players in your pool, I'm just going to give them boosts to get them above 3 or more fantasy points so that they'll be in the player pool. Players from each team max set to 4. I'm going to leave that at 4. That just means I could have 4 players from one team versus just 1 from the other. And then groups, typically my groups are going to revolve around my quarterbacks. I'm going to start with a Jalen Hurts MVP group. So I find Jalen Hurts in the MVP spot, make him my key player. And then I'll go ahead and add all of his pass catchers to a secondary group. So I'm just looking for anybody with that Eagles logo and a projection, adding everybody here. And these running backs have not been very involved in the passing game so far this year. I think Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell have each had 12 or 13 targets so far through 8 games. So not very involved. You don't necessarily need to include the running backs in this group. Maybe I'll include them and just give a very small boost. Guys, we have a great offer for new users only. You can get full access to everything Stokastic has to offer for NFL for 3 days free. Projections, ownership, 1v1 tools, lineup generator, top stacks tool, all free. Zero risk. Sign up now. The link is in the description of this video. Note that Fantasy Cruncher is an add-on and is not included in this offer. All right, that'll do it for this group. So we've got Hurts in the MVP spot, all of his potential pass catchers in a secondary group, and I'm going to say only apply plus minus adjustments. I think Hurts has the rushing upside that he is viable in the MVP spot, potentially without any pass catchers from the Eagles. I think that he could be optimal that way. However, I do think it's more likely that Hurts, if Hurts is the optimal MVP, he's probably bringing along at least one pass catcher. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give boosts to all of these pass catchers in lineups where I have Hurts in the MVP spot. I'm just giving 12% boosts. This is not an exact science. This is through trial and error, approximately what I've found I should change to if I want to get the lineups to look the way I want them to, make these guys more likely to be in lineups, but not force them into every lineup. All right, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell. Again, none of these guys are very involved in the passing game, so I'm just going to give them smaller boosts. I still think there's some positive correlation there. Obviously, one game wouldn't be shocking to see Jalen Hurts dump it off to Miles Sanders and score a touchdown there. So I'm going to give a little bit of a boost there, but not the full boost that I give to the primary pass catchers. I'm going to rename this Hurts MVP. And I'm going to make a new group that is a Heineke MVP group. So I'm going to go find Taylor Heineke in the MVP spot, make him my key player. And then same thing, I'm going to go ahead and add all of his pass catchers to a secondary group. Antonio Gibson is very involved in the passing game for the Commanders. Brian Robinson, not so much. You could make this group without including Brian Robinson. I'm going to include him, I think, for now. Maybe I'll change that. All right. Heineke in the MVP spot. Unlike Jalen Hurts, I am going to require at least one pass catcher from the Commanders when I have Taylor Heineke in the MVP spot. He has some rushing upside. He rushed for over 300 yards last year, but I just don't think that Taylor Heineke has the upside to be the optimal MVP. So, like, he's going to need to score a lot of fantasy points to be the optimal MVP. I don't see him getting there without involving at least one pass catcher, a significant amount. So I'm requiring at least one pass catcher from the Commanders, but I'm still also going to give boosts to all of these pass catchers to make it more likely that I get to multiple pass catchers where I have Heineke at MVP. I think I'm not even going to give Brian Robinson a boost. Maybe I'll include him there, but not give a boost. And then Antonio Gibson, I'll give slightly lesser than a full boost just because he is also a runner. All right, and then I'm going to make let's see what these look like. I want to see if I get to a ton of Taylor Heineke. I'd be totally fine having Hurts in a flex spot without any Eagles pass catchers in some lineups. I'd be okay with having a couple with Heineke in a flex spot without any Washington pass catchers, but I probably don't want that to be the lineup that I see a ton of. So I'm just gonna run it like this for now and decide after seeing what my lineups look like if I want to change it to require a pass catcher from Commanders when I have Heineke in the flex spot, or at least give a boost to Commanders pass catchers in lineups that have Heineke in the flex spot. But I want to see first how much I'm getting to lineups that have only Heineke from Washington. So I'm going to crunch out now 150 lineups, see what they look like. All right, Jalen Hurts at MVP, just one pass catcher from the Eagles. I'm okay with that. Hurts has enough rushing upside. Heineke MVP, now I'm getting 3 pass catchers. That's including Antonio Gibson from the Commanders. Like to see that. I am seeing Hurts here by himself with no pass catchers from the Eagles. Don't want to see a ton of that, but definitely viable with Hurts's rushing upside. Hurts with Brown, Hurts with Goddard and Smith, Hurts with Sanders. Don't love that as much. But again, Hurts is fine by himself. Certainly, we could see a Hurts to Sanders touchdown. I think it's viable. Hurts into MVP with multiple. Hurts with Goddard. Hurts with multiple. So far, I think these are looking correlated well enough. Now, here we have another Hurts with just Miles Sanders. Again, I think it's viable. Maybe I end up seeing too much. Here we got Heineke at MVP with multiple pass catchers from Washington. Hurts with no pass catchers. Again, maybe I'm getting to more of that than I want. I'll have to decide. I'll have to think about that, how much I'm actually getting Hurts with no, because here's Hurts with no pass catchers again. I didn't think that was going to be a big concern because the Eagles pass catchers project well enough, but I guess they're also expensive enough that they're not making it into many. Hurts with multiple. Hurts with Goddard. I'm actually not seeing a ton of Taylor Heineke in the flex without any pass catchers. Am I just not getting to? Yeah, okay. So I'm just not getting to any Taylor Heineke at all in the flex is what's happening here. So maybe I need to give a little bit of a boost there. Also going to go in. I think I am going to make these groups. I'm going to say if I have Hurts in the flex, so I'm going to find Hurts in the flex, making my key player. I'm just going to give a little bit of a boost to these Eagles pass catchers to make it less likely that I have Hurts in there with no Eagles pass catchers. Again, I do think it's viable. I'm going to allow for it. I just don't want to see it in, 25, 30% of my lineups necessarily. And I'm not even going to add the running backs to this one. I'm just giving a boost, and there's not as much positive correlation there. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and give a little boost to these Eagles pass catchers. That's where I have Hurts in the flex. I'm going to only apply plus minus adjustment. So I'm not forcing these guys in. I'm just giving the boost where I have Hurts to make it a little bit less likely that I have 40 lineups that have Hurts in a flex with no other Eagles pass catchers with him. And then same thing. Taylor Heineke. Going to find Heineke in a flex spot. Make him my key player. Including Antonio Gibson here because he is very involved in the passing game. All right. And I'm just going to only apply plus minus adjustments. Again, not forcing these guys in, but maybe I need to. I think these guys project low enough that I'm actually going to give them a slightly bigger boost than I gave to the Eagles in Hurts flex lineups. All right. Now I'm going to recrunch, see what these lineups look like. So I had 1% Heineke In my last run, still only getting to 6%. My guess is I'm going to want more than that of Taylor Heineke. Just looking at our single game tool, yeah, he's optimal. Wow, he is way over owned according to this, but still optimal in the util 21% of the time, optimal captain 6% of the time, and I'm getting lower than those, which might be fine because I am an exploitative player. So typically, if he's getting a ton of ownership and he's optimal less frequently, I don't mind having under the field. But still, this seems 6% seems low. But let's look first at the lineups themselves. Hurts at MVP, multiple pass catchers, looks good. Heineke MVP, multiple pass catchers, looks good. I do still have Hurts here with no Eagles pass catchers in the lineup, which again I'm allowing, but maybe want to make it happen less frequently. Hurts with just Sanders, don't love that quite as much. Prefer other pass catchers with him. Hurts with just Sanders again, so maybe I need to give bigger boost to those Eagles when I have Hurts in the flex spot. Yeah, I think I do need to. I'm running into a ton of lineups that have Hurts in the flex with no primary pass catchers from the Eagles. All right, I'm going to go back to advanced options, groups, Hurts in the flex. Give bigger boost here. Maybe I'll do the same thing with Heineke. Up these boosts slightly. And then crunch again. So now we have right away Hurts in the MVP without any of his primary pass catchers. He does have Miles Sanders in there. I think it's viable. Not my favorite lineup because again, Miles Sanders not very involved in the passing game so far this year, but I do think it's at least a viable lineup. Hurts could certainly score a touchdown on the ground, throw a touchdown to Sanders, or Sanders could also score a touchdown on the ground. I think that there are ways for this lineup to work out. Hurts here with multiple pass catchers looks good. Hurts here with multiple pass catchers looks good. Hurts with at least one. Okay, here's one with Hurts with no pass catchers, which is something that I'm trying to minimize. I don't want to have it in 30% of my lineups, but I don't mind having it in some lineups. Hurts again, MVP with multiple. Heineke with Gibson looks good. Hurts with multiple. Hurts with just Goddard, that looks good. Hurts with Sanders, don't love that quite as much, but it's fine. Hurts with Goddard looks good. All right. In general, these look good to me. Where I have Heineke in the MVP, I tend to have multiple Commanders pass catchers. Now I'm up to 9.3% lineups have Heineke. You saw that went up from the last one. I didn't even give Heineke any kind of projection boost, but what I did do is I gave boost to all of his pass catchers in lineups where I have Heineke in the flex. So naturally, I'm going to get more of Heineke in the flex because those lineups essentially get a boost where I have Heineke in the flex. Even though I didn't boost his actual projection, I boosted lineups that have him in it because I boosted the projection of his pass catchers where I have Heineke in the flex. Guys, we have a great offer for new users only. You can get full access to everything Stokastic has to offer for NFL for 3 days free. Projections, ownership, 1v1 tools, lineup generator, top stacks tool, all free. Zero risk. Sign up now. The link is in the description of this video. Note that Fantasy Cruncher is an add-on and is not included in this offer. But in general, so just looking at my Heineke flex lineups, there are 14 of them. Here's Heineke with Antonio Gibson as a pass catcher. That works. Heineke here with multiple pass catchers from Commanders. Heineke with Gibson. Heineke with multiple. So I'm getting to a ton of Heineke with just Gibson. Yeah, so I've got Gibson in 50%. I think that's okay. In general, though, I think these lineups look fine. I am running now into more of these lineups where I have Hurts in the MVP without multiple or without at least one pass catcher from the Eagles. I don't love that. I prefer to have at least one pass catcher. So maybe I could give a bigger boost to Eagles in lineups that have Hurts in the flex. But I'm not having a ton of it. So maybe I'm okay with the amount that I am getting to these. Okay, I think these ones look better correlated. And then the final step that I do, once I have correlations that I like in my lineups, I just go through position by position, looking at how much I'm getting to each player. So first of all, looking at MVP, yeah, I am getting to 30% Hurts. I think I'm okay with that. 8% AJ Brown, 9% Heineke, 9% Sanders. In general, I think these all look probably fine. Quarterback spot, I'm getting to a whole lot of Jalen Hurts, not a lot of Taylor Heineke. If I want to get more of Heineke, maybe I give him a thumbs up. Running back spot, getting to 16% Miles Sanders, 35% Antonio Gibson, 37% Brian Robinson, and virtually zero Kenneth Gainwell, just one share. And then Boston Scott, currently not in my player pool. If I want him in there, I have to give him projection of at least 3. So looking at this, I might say, yeah, maybe I want a little bit more Kenneth Gainwell. Give him a thumbs up or 2. Typically, I'm actually changing projections when I do this. I typically recommend for newer players use the thumbs up, thumbs down first before changing projections. But I would actually go through and change projections a little bit until I get to exposure levels that I like. And I just go position by position, looking at players relative to each other. What do I want? How much do I want of these players? Currently getting to virtually zero AJ Brown. Maybe give him a thumbs up or 2. Not getting too much Terry McLaurin, 3%. Maybe give him a thumbs up or 2. Getting to a ton of Curtis Samuel. Probably I'll get a little bit less just by giving thumbs up to other players. Maybe I'll give Dotson thumbs up or 2. All right, in general, maybe I'll give Pascal a projection of 3, get him into the player pool. Get into a lot of Dallas Goedert. If I want Rodgers and Stoll, Bates in my player pool, I have to give them projections of at least 3. Getting to a lot of Jake Elliott, not much Joey Sly. Maybe give Sly a thumbs up. And then DST getting to a ton of the Eagles defense, not much of the Commanders defense. I don't know if I want 43%, but I probably don't need to do anything. I'll get less there naturally because of other changes I've made. Maybe I give the Commanders a thumbs up if I want more than 3%, and then crunch again. And that was not a big enough thumbs up clearly for the Commanders. So crunch again. All right, that helped a little bit, but this is a spot where I've given all the thumbs up I can, still not getting to much. Now I might want to just forego the thumbs up and just change the projection itself. Kicker is still not getting much, so Joey Sly, maybe give him a couple more thumbs up. Again, I'm not actually making these decisions right now. I will do a little bit more research before I make actual player decisions on some of these guys. Just showing you my general thought process, my general approach. Now I look again here, tight end, getting to a ton of these guys, not getting to any Logan Thomas now. So maybe I'll give Logan Thomas a couple thumbs up. Wide receiver, getting to a lot more AJ Brown now, still just 11% Terry McLaurin, maybe one more thumbs up. Maybe Dotson needs one more thumbs up, still not getting too much. Now with all my other changes, I went from 14% Quez Watkins down to 6%, so now I'm below the field. Maybe I want thumbs up there. Still not getting to any Gainwell. Give him that final thumbs up. Miles Sanders, I think I'm going to like a little bit. Give him a couple. And then crunch again. And I'm not going to keep going through this. Sometimes I crunch 20, 30 times here. I'm not going to do that on this video. Just kind of trying to show you my general process, which is go through position by position. How much am I getting of each player? What do I need to do to get more or less of certain players? And here you can see Kenneth Gainwell, for example, gave him all the thumbs up I could. Going to take that off and instead just say, what if I give him projection of 5? And then I'll crunch again, and I just crunch and crunch until I get to the exposure levels that I like. But again, I'm not going to go through that entire process now. That's something I will do closer to lock after we get inactives. After I've done a little bit more research, I will be writing an article this afternoon, doing some digging into trends with the teams to figure out, how much I want of different players. So look out for the article that I'll be publishing later today on Stokastic. I will also be on Live Before Lock to talk about some of these player decisions. This video, though, is just really about setting up Fantasy Cruncher to be correlated in the way I want it to. And I think that we have covered that fairly well. So I think that is going to do it for this video. Before you leave, check out Odd Shopper today. If you're going to be making some betting decisions, betting on this game at all, it's got everything you need to make sure you are maximizing your profits. You can shop bets, create your own parlay using our parlay builder, find arbitrage opportunities, and of course, most importantly, you can shop bets to find the best price available for different bets. So check out Odd Shopper. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you can find some success tonight using this or a similar process.